you ready? Are you ready for the news time? Yes, my name is Phil Chambers and welcome to the Saturday News. No Gareth today because he's off swanning about somewhere. I have no idea what he's doing, to be honest, but he's left me on my own. But before we get going, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment down below what you think of all of today's stories, and links to each story is in the description below, so just click on the little timestamps and away you go. But first up, coming out of SmackDown, there is news that since the New Day dropped the titles at Extreme Rules in that tables match against Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura, turns out Kofi Kingston was injured in that match. It was announced last night on SmackDown. He sort of came out of like a trainer's office in the backstage and he was there with Big E, and he basically just told him that he's going to be out for about 6 weeks. Absolutely no word on what the injury is or whether it's even just a storyline. But we'll keep you up to date if we get anything new on this. And then Kofi kind of gave Big E like this pep talk saying that his time is now and people are ready to see what Big E can do on his own kind of thing. And with Xavier Woods obviously being out and Kofi Kingston now out for at least 6 weeks, it seems, looks like we might be getting that Big E singles push that everyone's kind of been clamoring for so long. And without a New Day breakup, which kind of makes it even better. Big E also recently spoke with Table Talk and actually brought up the fact of having a singles push. He's basically just got a quote from it. He said, I'd love to do singles stuff. That would be a lot of fun, but I think we don't need to break up. We can do something similar to what Kofi did, where we all stayed as a faction. We were still together. He pursued the single stuff. So yeah, I'm ready for it. So it looks like Big E is getting his wish and we're getting a bit of a Big E singles push. I, for one, am all for this. Big E is constantly one of the most entertaining things in WWE, full stop, like any show. He's absolutely brilliant. He brightens up every screen that he's on. He puts a smile on my face every time he comes out there. And to get him as a singles push as his Big E New Day character as well, which I think is really important, not with like some kind of screwy heel turn or anything like that. I'm very much into this and I really hope they just proper put the rocket strap to him and give him a really big push while Kofi's out. Obviously with Kofi, we wish you the best, like get well soon if it is real. If it is a storyline, I think this is just a great way to give Big E that much needed push. But speaking of SmackDown, with Mandy Rose and Otis have been off for bloody ages now, like 3 or 4 weeks we haven't seen them on TV. Not entirely clear why, although you've got to assume something to do with the global situation. But it was announced on SmackDown last night that we are going to see them next week. And we also got like this big promo package of like catching everyone up about what they've missed from it. No word on what the segment will be, whether it'll be one of their weird little backstage pool skits or whether they'll be physically on the show, whether there'll be matches, no idea. But finally, we're getting that story continued. There was also a fatal four-way match on SmackDown last night between Gran Metalik, Lince Dorado, Shorty G and Drew Gulak, with the winner getting the opportunity to face AJ Styles next week. Gran Metalik won that match. It's a good fun match. He won it with the sort of tightrope walk, elbow drop thing that he does. And it will be AJ Styles versus Gran Metalik for an IC title shot next week on SmackDown, which should be a really bloody good match. Gran Metalik is absolutely fantastic and good to see him getting a shot against the likes of AJ. Also on last night's SmackDown, I should say, Bayley and Sasha kind of started the show doing their usual cocky selves, bragging about all the gold that they have and how they are the best that the women's division has to offer, which is quite true at the minute. They're some of the most entertaining things on TV. Anyway, Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss came out to interrupt them, because of course they did. That's what happens on all WWE shows. And Nikki wanted a rematch for Bayley's SmackDown Women's Championship. But Bayley obviously didn't want to just give it to her, so she set up a match between Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, with the winner getting to face Bayley next week. And Nikki Cross won that match with, can you guess it? Yeah, a roll-up. Of course it was. What else would it be? So it will be Nikki Cross versus Bayley in a Extreme Rules rematch, I guess, next week on SmackDown. So they are really stacking next week's SmackDown. So yeah, some really good matches there to look forward to next week. Carrying on this, it turns out that Edge and Daniel Bryan are now a part of the WWE writing team. Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer obviously reported, just got a quote from it. He said, Edge on Raw and Daniel Bryan on SmackDown both have significant creative influence. The term I was given is they were part of the writing teams of the respective shows right now. So yeah, obviously, I mean, both of these guys have fantastic wrestling minds, and they'd be an asset to any show. It also kind of explains why they've had some of the best TV angles going at the minute. Steve Carrier of Ringside News has a bit of an update on this. It just says, he put out a tweet, just saying, we've been told Edge and Daniel Bryan joined the writing team a few weeks ago. They have a sweet deal. They get to pitch ideas, they get access to scripts and the grid, they get McMahon meeting notes, and they don't have to be there or go to Stamford either. So yeah, an interesting direction that they're going in with this, and not entirely sure what to make of it, to be honest. Bringing the wrestlers on board is a great idea, or whether this is just specific to Daniel Bryan and Edge, we're not entirely sure. But it's definitely a sweet deal for Daniel Bryan and Edge. A Wrestling Observer, Dave Meltzer obviously, has also mentioned that the current kind of penciled in plan for SummerSlam is to have Orton versus Drew for the WWE Championship, with Orton going over and winning that title, leading to an I Quit match at WrestleMania against Edge. Now, apparently this plan was originally scheduled for SummerSlam, but then Edge hurt his bicep at Backlash, so that couldn't happen. But it looks like they're maybe trying to bring Edge back into the world title scene at WrestleMania next year. A huge match if it is. Torn about this though, because I mean, Drew is a great champion. I think it'd just be a bit of a waste of this great run to just drop it to Orton at this point, who absolutely does not need the title at all. So mixed feelings about this, but I mean, the I Quit match would be absolutely amazing. Obviously, Edge has apparently had a big hand in writing this and setting this match up. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see how it pans out. Obviously, WrestleMania is a long way away from now. Even SummerSlam, at the rate that WWE writes and changes things, could be changed. But these are the plans that are penciled in place. Now, talking about just general TV tapings for WWE. Now, we've obviously had a lot of reports saying that superstars in the crowd weren't hugely happy about being there. They had long days, no seats. Previously, before they changed the rules, they weren't allowed to wear masks and things like that. So obviously they haven't exactly been hugely happy about any of this. But we have got a bit more of an update. Apparently it is getting a bit better, but it's still not there, and some of the stars are still very unhappy about it. And apparently, according to Fightful, some no-showed some NXT tapings. I've got a quote from them just saying, we're told many no-showed the backlot fight between Adam Cole and Velveteen Dream specifically. Along the way, some NXT talent, including Undisputed Era, were asked to come in as extra noise before friends of the wrestlers were eventually brought in. Prior to that, many of the top names in NXT were exempt from even being asked to come in. And obviously that match was heavily delayed due to weather issues, so that might have something to do with why they were so desperate to get people in the end. But asking Undisputed Era to come in and be the crowd is absolutely mad. Now, Stephanie McMahon has previously said that first and foremost, it's all optional. It's all volunteer based. It's all up to them if they want to participate. We did have talent and crew members opt out, and we do support that. So that's a direct quote from Stephanie McMahon. Well, apparently that isn't entirely true anymore either. Again, according to Fightful, another quote from them that just says, as far as Stephanie McMahon's notions that everything is on a volunteer basis, that hasn't been the sentiment echoed by NXT recruits. While there was one early name that told NXT they wouldn't be coming in, we've heard of several that have asked to not participate and were told they needed to come in. So it looks like Stephanie McMahon doing a little bit of a U-turn on her statements there. And it seems like, they're forcing people to come into the crowds even when they might not want to. Obviously things have gotten better. They're doing a lot more tests. I mean, well, they're doing tests now. People are allowed to wear masks and things like that, but it's obviously still got a long way to go in terms of these crowds at the WWE shows. But enough about WWE for now. Let's move on to AEW news. And a bit of good news coming from their ratings. I know some people hate talking about ratings, so I won't talk about this too much, but there's just a couple of little interesting things coming out of them, coming out of the quarter-hour things that got released. So it turns out AEW Dynamite beat both Raw and SmackDown in the one key demographic for the first time ever. Meltzer tweeted this out. He just said, this is the first week in history where AEW has won a key demo overall, beating both Raw and SmackDown in the same week in women aged between 18 and 34. And that's a show with competition versus two shows with long histories and no wrestling competition. Cody then retweeted this, just saying, humbling stuff, we are doing the work, but we are also incredibly fortunate, stroke lucky, to be expanding like this and at this rate. This data and the Sky Italian news are making for a hell of a week. So yeah, obviously it was reported earlier in the week that Sky in Italy have dropped WWE because they're just too expensive and not bringing in high enough ratings, and they are replacing them with AEW Dynamite, so that's great news for AEW. But another little snippet about this ratings, Meltzer also noted that AEW earned over 1 million viewers for a small portion of the show, which is also great news. That small portion was the sort of 5-minute ending of the Young Bucks versus the Butcher and the Blade mental false count anywhere match. So obviously that got people to turn over. So great news there from WWE. Tony Khan also tweeted out a big thank you for the 1 million viewers thing. So yeah, beating Raw and SmackDown in a key demographic for the first time ever and getting over 1 million viewers for a segment. Really good stuff coming out of AEW. And speaking of AEW, finally now, next week on Dynamite, it has been announced that Cody will be defending his TNT Championship against Warhorse. So if you've ever wondered if AEW really listens to their fans, this is it. Obviously, as soon as this TNT Championship thing got announced, people have been clamoring for this all over Twitter, all over social media, Reddit and everything. People wanted Cody versus Warhorse, and they're giving it to them. So this is really good. It should be a really good fun match next week. If you don't know anything about Warhorse, I'm going to point you at a little mini documentary about him that's really good on YouTube, just called Becoming Warhorse. So go check that out, get a little bit of an insight into what Warhorse is. And this, should be a really good fun match next week. And speaking of AEW giving the fans what they want, when are we going to get Simon Miller versus Cody for the TNT Championship? Book it now. Tony Khan, give the fans what they want. Anyway, that has been the news. Thank you so much for joining me. I have been Phil Chambers, and you can follow me at Phil My Chambers. You can follow everyone at WhatCulture WWE, and also go subscribe to Kayfabe News on YouTube as well. It's my sort of side thing with Simon, not with Simon, with Philip and Marks, I should say. Definitely not Simon. It bears a striking resemblance to Simon though. But it's just a bunch of fun little satirical videos on YouTube, including one where Mick Foley definitely says that he faked the fall from Hell in a Cell. What a bastard, been lying to us all this time. So yeah, go subscribe to Kayfabe News on YouTube. But yeah, most importantly, have yourselves a bloody good day. Goodbye.